Welcome to the Every Single Day podcast. This is Bradley Charbonneau. It's early. Where are you, 6:30?
Yeah, 6:30. I get up at I started a couple years ago. I started getting up at between 5 and 5:30 every morning to read.
Wow.
And I've gotten to love it so much. I do it on weekends. I do it every day now.
Yeah, me too.
I love the early morning when it's still dark and it's quiet and you have no responsibilities. You don't have to do anything. No one's expecting anything of you. Nobody's even awake.
I know. I think you and I are in this small club though, because I meet so many more like night owls than early birds.
I can't do it. My brain begins kind of turning into mush around 10 o'clock and
10 a.m. or 10 p.m.
10 p.m. And I don't feel like I get my best work. Or like when I write, I don't feel like the writing it flows as well. I don't feel like the reading that I'm getting it as well. But in the morning, like I'm up, I'm charged for the day, and I feel like I get much better work out of myself.
You know, I was going to ask if you read. For some reason, somebody sent me a link to Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. You ever heard of that?
No.
But the funny thing is, you and I don't need it. We know the answer. It's what you just said.
Yeah, I got to love it years ago, and so now and my wife on weekends she'll sleep till 9:30 or 10 o'clock. So I have my little I have my little office upstairs, and that's where I do most of my reading and all my writing. And so I'll just go up there and I'll have 3.5, 4 hours to just do just check out of everything and read whatever I'm on at that moment and write on my next book and just get kind of my quiet time and everything before she's even awake.
Yeah. I was at 20 Books London this past weekend.
Yeah. How'd that go?
And it was great. It was really, just those guys putting on the show, Michael Anderle and Craig Martell. I mean, they don't want any money. They're doing it on their own free time. And in fact, I mean, the conference fee was £165, which I thought was a bargain to begin with.
Yeah, that's
and then they said, "Oh, we came in under cost, so we're going to refund everybody 55 of those pounds." That's like a third.
That's impressive.
I mean, I've never heard of something like that at a conference.
You'd think they'd just roll that into the next year's budget or they do whatever like that. That shows a lot of that'll gain a lot of trust and a lot of loyalty.
Yeah. I mean, you think, why are these guys doing it? And then you think, well, it's clearly not for the money. So, wow, you're like, gee, maybe they're really, they are genuine.
Yeah.
Maybe, and you think, wow, well, maybe I should listen more to them. Maybe they're
exactly
the awesome guys that they seem to be,
Yeah, good for them. That's impressive. I feel like I was an early adopter of your strategy. When I was reading, I was seeing so many things that kind of I recognized in what I do, so I feel like and I even know how every single day kind of came into my philosophy and kind of came into my life a few years ago.
Wow. Awesome.
So I know how I sort of came to that and why now, like I do it in a couple of things, but I am totally committed to every single day without having read your book.
I bet I do not pretend to, have reinvented any wheels or anything. It's it's another, label or another name on the same thing, and call it whatever you want. But, this was my name, and I basically wrote the book because I did it and I was doing it.
Yep.
And I would get all these questions from people who they weren't where you and I are.
Yep.
And they don't get it. They just don't get it. And so that's partly why, when I saw your post, it's kind of like I mean, you, not me, but we can just recognize so clearly when sort of one of the, whatever you want to call it, clan or one of the secret members comes along. I mean, just the way you wrote that post, that comment in Facebook, I was like, oh yeah, he gets it. That's it. That's the deal.
Yeah.
It's just so clear. So my goal is to get the people who either they're just starting or they haven't started yet. And by get, well, I'm going to take a note from Michael Anderle and Craig Martell. I'm actually, this may sound even phony, but I need to find a better way to say this too. But basically, I want people to realize the secret of this, the power of this. And sure, I want to sell books, but it's kind of, and here's the maybe sounds crazy part, but I just think the world would be a better place if and I know I'm going off on some Disney-esque sort of speech there, but I don't know. I just think it's so simple, and it's not always easy, for sure. It's not just like you say clearly, don't wish it was easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there you say, be glad it's hard. But that's what's going to get you over the hump. And no, there's no magic button. In fact, I was thinking of calling this episode Magic Button.
Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of people are looking for. And I mean, so in my twist on, my play on my every single day thing, I say that's the magic button. You want a magic button? There it is.
Right. But at the beginning, not only is there not a magic button, but you should be glad there isn't. If there was a magic button, everyone would just hit the magic button, and who would care that you did it? There'd be no advantage. You think there are millions of books now, especially if you're a self-published author. You think there are millions of books, and you're getting lost in a sea of books now. What if it were easy? If it were easy to write a book, everybody would write a damn book. And there would be no way to stand out in this crowd. It wouldn't even be worth doing. The whole point of it then the hard workers have an advantage. And I think that's the key thing that I have sort of taken is that if it's hard, then if you're not lazy, if you're determined and you love it and you want it, then you have an advantage. Take the advantage.
Okay, so you just said important things. You said if you love it and you want it.
Yeah.
So I was talking to a very good friend of mine, and he was being very open with me, and he had read my book, and he was visiting me, and he said, you know what? He's like, hey, I totally get your book. Love it. Wow. Awesome. Good for you. But he's like, you know what? I'm not sure what I love. I'm not sure where my passion is and I want to go after. I just don't know. I'm not sure. And I don't pretend to answer that question because I think that's sort of another book and another topic.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you could say, well, just take something you think might be it and just force it.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah.
Just give it the every single day, manifesto and force it through. And after X number of days, I think you're going to have a better idea of, one of three things. Either, oh, wow, that was definitely not it.
Yep.
Or the other extreme is, oh, wow, I found it. Or in the middle is like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's better to find that out. You can find that out pretty quickly. You don't just spend your whole life doing it to find out you don't love it. Do it. Try it for a little bit. Push into something.
Right. Right.
I discovered many years ago that I love journalism and I love writing. I had an 8th grade English teacher who the first day we walked into class, she told us her words were, "I'm a slave driver." And we all wanted to crawl under our desks and hide for the school year because when you're 13, 14 years old, you've never had a teacher like that. I didn't even know what to do with that. What does that mean? I don't even know how I'm going to deal with this. I've never had a teacher that challenged me. School was always kind of boring and just kind of, you just go along and whatever. I'll get my A, maybe a B, fine. I don't really care. I'm not going to get a C. If I were to get a C, my parents would flip out. So I'm not going to do that. But as long as I put in a minimal effort and just don't completely punt on everything, I'll be fine. I'll get my A or B, and I can just playing baseball and keep doing all my other stuff. And this teacher walks into class and says, I'm a slave driver. And my world was completely rocked. Like, I didn't know how to deal with it. And I had her not only for English, but I had her for a reading class as well, because the English teacher always taught the highest reading class, and I was in the highest reading class, so I had her for 2 classes. And
the slave driver,
Mrs. Jones, and she is still probably to this day the best teacher I ever had.
Wow!
And
I'm sure she'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I've tried to kind of track her down a time or two, and I haven't had much luck. But she really, I mean, she really was. Like, she was not kidding. She had been an 11th grade English teacher for like 20 years, and I guess she got bumped down to 8th grade that year.
Yeah,
and I think she just didn't want to stop teaching 11th. Like, she knew 11th grade. Like, that was the curriculum she knew. And she was like, this is what I'm teaching them. And they're going to figure it out. And she had no qualms with failing people. And so it was the first time I had ever like started getting C's. And I had to have my parents like, okay, it's like I had to prepare them like, okay, you're going to see a C, but let me just prepare you here. Why don't you? We need to have let's have a like I actually called a parent teacher conference with me. I was like, we need to have a conference here. Like, we need to meet her, talk to her. Let's talk. Like, let's chat. Come to the school. Let's chat with her. I think you'll understand a little better. And I never worked harder for a C. I had never worked that hard for an A. And I was working harder for a C than I ever had for an A. And
so you said that it was maybe the first time, or one of the first times, or at least like maybe one of the most important times that you were really challenged.
Yes.
And you realized, wow, if I want to cut this, I gotta actually work, and I can't just like hide out and squeeze by anymore. I often see like water will get anywhere, right? With enough time, it can carve out valleys and get through mountains. But I also see water as water is going to find the easiest path,
right,
to the lowest spot or whatever. It'll freeze and break rocks, whatever, but it'll take its time and it'll just find sort of the lowest common denominator or the easiest path to get through. And so I'm going to say something dangerous here, but I'm going to say I think a lot of people take that easy path throughout much, if not all, of their lives.
Yeah.
And they maybe get to a point where they say, oops, or it's like your 8th grade experience. They say, oh, wait a minute. Somebody's challenging me with something, but I actually want to succeed. I mean, sure, you can be challenged and you don't care about it. Well, then you don't care and just let it slide. But when somebody or something or some event, or you just decide, I'm going to be challenged with this thing I really want, and then you're really going to go for it, because then it's the scary part. Then you're like, wow, I could fail.
Yep.
And here you are getting C's. Well, wait a minute. I actually want this to be successful, and it's not happening. Hold on. Let's have a conference.
Yeah, and I realized 2 things that school year. One was I really loved to write and to create.
Wow. Cool.
And that's what I've wanted to do ever since that moment at 14 years old. And 2, I learned that I like doing things that are hard. And
well, you're in the right business.
Those have been 2 really good lessons that have carried me through a lot of things over the past 25 years. Yeah, it's been 25 years. Those are lessons I have carried with me all the way to today. And I constantly find that I like doing things that are hard, and it's like I seek them out, and I challenge myself to, oh, that looks hard. Let's try that. And none, like, being hard, it doesn't deter me. It almost draws me. It's like, all right, let's do that. And I've done a lot of things that are hard, and not all of them have I done particularly well. I don't know that I have, right. But I've done them, and I've pushed.
Yeah. But the done particularly well part. I mean, for me, that's kind of just icing on the cake.
Right. Right.
I think the doing it and daring to do it and being willing to fail, I mean, that's kind of the fun part anyway.
Yeah.
You know, people ask me right now, I've been writing consecutively for, I'm almost at 2,000 days. I'm like 1,962 or something like that. And people ask me, oh, wow, oh man. So, have you been successful? And of course, they're usually hinting at financially.
Right.
And it's so interesting, but maybe way back when I thought about that, but now it's not even sort of in my arena anymore. That is not why I do it. I do it because I am enjoying the ride.
Yeah.
I like writing every day. It's almost like brushing my teeth or a vitamin. I mean, if I didn't have it, then I wouldn't be myself.
You know what?
The
last time I checked my sales was, I couldn't tell. I don't know. I don't even know the last time I looked at them was. I know a check comes in to my business account, every month. I don't even really look at that. Like, I can honestly say at this point in my writing, I do not care. I don't, and it's not that, I mean, I guess, entrepreneur and it's a business and I get it. And I do things like when I have a chance to speak and do a reading for my book, when I'll do little ad buys on Amazon here and there, and I'll check those. I might do a boost a post on Facebook, and I try to run my social media accounts and try to keep active and try to build an audience. But as far as checking sales, I mean, in these author groups, you're obviously you participate in these as well. Like, I just see so many new authors get so hung up on how do I sell books and how do I sell more, and people aren't buying it, people aren't reading it, and I don't understand. And I wrote one book and it hasn't sold a bunch of copies. Why aren't I selling enough? And what do I have to do? And I just take another step, man. I just want to, and that's kind of what I was saying to that guy on the Facebook post, was just take another step. Just put blinders on and forget about everything other than the work. Just take another step. I don't even know that you want to do that build stuff, have the opportunity and little ad buys and speaking engagement. Like, you want to do that. You do want to build up an audience if eventually you want to have a business. But when you're first writing and you've got 1 book, 2 books, 4 books, 5 books, you're like a startup that's in an early concept phase. You're not a business yet. You're nothing. You've got, like, you're playing with stencils and you're drawing things and no startup business would be thinking about, well, what is our income? You're not there yet. That's not where you are as a stage. I know you want to be a business person and you want to sell and you want to make a living at this, and especially if you love it. Like, the dream is to be able to be Stephen King, right? Like, the dream is to be able to just every day wake up, go up to your writing area and have all your little knickknacks around you, and you can be that eccentric writer who sits in a robe all day and just writes crazy stories and then read. Yeah, all right, sure, that's the dream, and I know you want it, but it's 100-mile race, man. And you've got to just take one more step, and the point of that. But
the thing, like you say, is about the race.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the finish line that is the goal.
No, it's the next step.
Yeah. Hey, so speaking of which, so I don't want to call this guy out, but do you have it in front of you? I'd love for you, because you wrote it just so beautifully. If you could read, you got 2 comments. You start one that say there is not any, and then he writes again, and then you say don't wish it was easy. Would you mind? I'll give it a little. I won't mention the guy's name. I mean, not that he's a bad guy. I mean, there's a lot of people who want that. But
I get it. I get where he's coming from.
Yeah. So just to summarize his little post, he says his keyword is frustration, and then being an author in these times has challenges. And then he's just basically talking about how to do this, how can I do that? There's all these writers, all this competition. How do you get your work out there? And then he says, after all, writing and art are my true passions, not selling and marketing. Anyone out there have the magic button? And then you say, you want to read that? You say there is not any.
There is not any, and never has been any way around the marketing part. nor has there ever been any magic button, or we'd all be using it. Write your best story, do what you can marketing it, write another, then write another, then write another, then write another. If you make every story great, it'll either happen for you or it won't.
And then he says, damn, I was hoping for a magic button. And then your next part.
Don't wish it was easy. Be glad it's hard. If it were easy, even more people would do it, and it'd be less rewarding for those who had succeeded. The one thing giving you a shot is the fact that it's very hard. That means those who work hard and are good at it and are diligent workers for many years have a better shot than the rest. Think about author success as completing a 100-mile run. You start the run surrounded by hundreds of other competitors, and that can seem daunting. But you know the vast majority won't come near finishing all 100 miles. They won't have the talent or the drive or the stamina or the interest or whatever. The key is to just keep going. When the rest of them fall out, run another mile, then another mile. Every word you write, you pass somebody you didn't. Every story you finish, there's one more ahead of someone else. Forget about sales. Think about logging miles. When you get to those last 10 miles, there will hardly anybody else around you. And those last 10 miles are undoubtedly the toughest. They have to be ground out. It takes a little luck to get 100. But you can get to 75 or 80 on sheer, hard, stubborn work while the rest of the pack looks in vain for a magic button.
Man, this is just poetry for me. I mean, this is just, I just love it. You know, Jeff, I'm not kidding. You probably just, I don't know if you just sort of tapped this out, but it's almost like, I think it's like a work of art. It's fantastic. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the heart and soul of this episode. And it's just going to be called Magic Button. And then here you go. You're giving the answer to the magic button right here. Because a lot of people want that. That's what they're looking for.
Right.
And here you go. You explain it. Here it is. Here's a magic button. I mean, it's not the magic button they're hoping for, but you're saying this is the magic button. Maybe it's not so magic, but it's a button. That's what you got to do. Hey there, every single day listeners. This is Bradley Charbonneau, and I'm interrupting this episode because we go on to other topics, and I really wanted to get that magic button topic clear and in there and have him read his comment from the Facebook group. So I'm going to leave it at that with the magic button. I hope it's clear. I hope it's powerful. And I hope you listen to next week's episode where I'll dig up some more every single day, trials, tribulations, and I can't think of any more T words that are positive other than thunder. Till next week, Bradley Charbonneau from Every Single Day.